People assume every marriage disaster starts with two people who never should have been together. Ours didn't look like that, at least not in the beginning. My name is Ryan Mitchell, and before my wife tried to ruin my life, I had this bad habit of being the dependable guy. The one who fixes things. The one who figures things out. The one you don't worry about because you just know he'll handle everything. It sounds flattering until you realize dependable is just a polite way of saying, we don't pay attention to you unless we need something. I wasn't born rich. I wasn't born gifted. But I was born with one specific obsession: machines that move fast. As a kid, I wasn't the one out playing football. I was the kid rebuilding the carburetor on a neighbor's lawnmower because it sounded wrong. My dad would walk past the garage, see me elbow deep in some engine and say, "That boy's gonna fix NASA someday, but only if NASA's vehicles break down." He meant it kindly, I think. By the time I was 17, I could identify a misfire by sound alone, tune an engine by feel, and read schematics like other kids read comic books. Cars made sense. People didn't. Especially women like Lauren Carter. We met at a mutual friend's backyard party. She was gorgeous, the kind of beautiful that actually makes you blink because your brain doesn't believe it right away. She smiled, held out her hand, and said, "So what do you do?" I told her I was an automotive systems engineer. She tilted her head. "Is that like fixing engines or something?" I laughed. "Something like that." I didn't mention that I'd spent the last 4 years secretly developing a high-performance racing powertrain model in my apartment, a design I would later sell for a 7-figure deal to a major U.S. racing manufacturer. Nobody knew about that deal. Not my parents, not my friends, not even Lauren at the time. I didn't brag. Life had already taught me, the less people know about what you truly have, the safer you are. Lauren was warm, fun, effortlessly social, the opposite of me. Where I was quiet, she filled the silence. Where I thought through sentences, she spilled them with confidence. She made ordinary things feel lighter, and I fell hard. We dated, we clicked. 2 years later, we were married. And because I had the money, and she had the lifestyle, I naturally fell into the role of provider, not because she demanded it, because it was easy. I paid for the house in my name, both cars, all vacations, most groceries, medical bills, date nights, her content creator hobbies, and eventually, even her parents' financial problems. Back then, I thought I was building a life with someone I'd grow old with. I didn't realize I was building a life she'd eventually try to take from me. Lauren liked nice things. There's nothing wrong with that, until it becomes her entire personality. She wanted better clothes, better restaurants, better hotels, better trips, better Instagram posts. And like an idiot in love, I provided everything. Her parents loved me too. A little too quickly, actually. Her dad would say, "Ryan, you're the kind of man every father dreams will marry his daughter." The translation I would learn later: "You're the kind of man who pays without asking questions." But the truth is, I didn't see myself as a meal ticket. I saw myself as a husband. I thought we were a team. Turns out, I was the engine, and they were just passengers enjoying the ride. When my racing model finally sold, the big deal, the one that changed everything for me, I didn't celebrate publicly. I didn't buy a sports car. I didn't post an Instagram story. I didn't even tell my coworkers. I took the deal, put the money away, reinvested in my business projects, and upgraded my house's security and structure quietly. Why? Because some part of me always knew. The more people know about what you have, the more they try to take it. My parents raised me practical. Life raised me cautious. Lauren never asked about my work deeply. She didn't care how engines worked or what an ECU did or why aerodynamic flow mattered. She cared about outfits, brunch, vacations, attention, and maybe I should have seen it then. But I didn't. Because love has this annoying way of making you blind to reality while everyone else sees it clearly. Looking back, the red flags were there. The entitlement was there. The imbalance was there. But I ignored it. Because when you love someone, you don't count what you give. You just give. Little did I know, the woman I poured so much into would soon betray me in a way that only someone you trust can. And the funniest part? She thought she'd walk away from the marriage with everything I built, not knowing the entire foundation was protected long before she ever cheated. Marrying Lauren felt at first like stepping into the kind of life I never thought I'd have. We weren't picture perfect, but we looked perfect enough for Instagram, which in hindsight was the only standard she actually cared about. The first 6 months were good, real good. She was affectionate, enthusiastic, always planning things. Brunch, double dates, weekend getaways, little surprises. She'd run up to me in the kitchen, wrap her arms around my waist, kiss my neck, and say, "You're my stability, Ryan. My forever." Cute, right? Except stability slowly started sounding like wallet, and forever started sounding like until someone wealthier notices me. The first signs weren't dramatic. They were quiet, like how she stopped asking how my day was, or how she'd scroll through her phone while I was talking, or how every conversation turned into a comparison. "Babe, look at this influencer's house. Her husband surprised her with a trip to Greece. This girl just got a Cartier bracelet for hitting 50K followers." She'd show me her screen expectantly, like I was supposed to applaud. I'd force a smile. "That's nice, but we're doing good too." She'd shrug. "Yeah, but we could be doing better." Better always meant bigger, fancier, more expensive. Lauren's influencer dream wasn't a hobby anymore. It became a lifestyle, a very costly lifestyle, at least twice a week. "Babe, I need a new lens. Babe, I need a new ring light. Babe, brands won't work with me unless I improve my aesthetic. Babe, can you book us a nicer restaurant? I need content." Her parents were worse. Her mom, Susan, would call with the tone of a woman who had memorized every Hallmark movie, but none of the U.S. tax laws. "Ryan, sweetie, supporting Lauren's dreams is a husband's pride. Be her rock." Her father, Gary, added, "A man's job is to elevate his wife." They always said it like I wasn't already elevating all three of them like a malfunctioning elevator. The worst part? Lauren began talking like she earned my money. "We should upgrade our car. We should remodel our kitchen. We should fly first class. It looks better in my story. We should get another dog. It would grow my engagement." Every "we" was really a "you." It was a Thursday. Long day. 12 hours of engineering calls, simulations, and meetings about upcoming car model updates. I walked in exhausted. She didn't look up from the couch. "Did you stop by Whole Foods? We need oat milk for tomorrow's shoot." I paused. "Shoot? What shoot?" She rolled her eyes. "The content shoot, Ryan. My 10K celebration post. Did you forget?" I blinked slowly. "No, I didn't forget. You never told me." She huffed like I insulted her ancestors. "Okay, well, can you just pick up the milk now? I need to do my skincare." And that was the first moment I quietly thought, "Oh, I married a consumer, not a partner." But I still got in the car, still drove, still bought the stupid oat milk, still came back home and smiled like a man trying to convince himself this was normal. A week later, we went to dinner with her friends, girls who treated life like an unlimited credit card. One of them asked, "Lauren, how's the brand going? Who's funding your content?" Without missing a beat, Lauren gestured at me casually. "Oh, Ryan covers everything. He's good with money." Everyone nodded like it was expected. No appreciation, no excitement, just entitlement. One friend clinked her glass. "Good husbands are providers." I smiled politely. Inside, something cracked, not loudly, just noticeably. Like the first time you hear a noise in the engine and pretend it's nothing, even though you know it isn't. The irony? While Lauren and her parents kept pushing me to fund her influencer dreams, I was busy succeeding in the real world. My racing system consultancy contract had begun. Checks were rolling in. My work was gaining recognition. I was building something big, quietly, deliberately, smartly. And nobody knew, because nobody asked. Lauren especially. She didn't care about torque distribution or aerodynamic efficiency. She cared about whether her latest reel hit 5K views. When I told her one night, "Hey, the company is extending the design contract," she didn't even look up from her phone. "That's cool, babe, but can you help me pick a filter?" That was the moment I realized she wasn't in a marriage. She was in a sponsorship. Most men don't leave when they should. We stay because we hope things will get better. We think patience is love. We ignore red flags out of loyalty. We believe effort can fix entitlement. We don't want to be quitters. I stayed. I worked harder, paid more bills, funded more dreams, stayed steady even when everything felt one-sided. I told myself this was marriage, a partnership, love. But in reality, I was the engine. and she was flooring the gas without looking at the fuel gauge. And sooner or later, something had to break. By the end of that year, my marriage didn't feel like a relationship. It felt like an arrangement. Lauren's love was warm, but her expectations were boiling. Her parents praised me, but only when they needed something. And I started to realize something I didn't want to admit. I wasn't building a life with her. I was financing her life while losing my own. And I didn't know it yet. But the shift was nothing compared to the earthquake that was coming. Because while I was trying to save our marriage, Lauren was busy destroying it. It didn't happen overnight. It never does. Cheating doesn't start with infidelity. It starts with micro behaviors, tiny, stupid things you almost feel crazy for noticing. The first red flag wasn't even red. It was beige, subtle. Lauren started carrying her phone everywhere. Everywhere. If she got up to refill her water, phone. If she went to the bathroom, phone. If she took the dog outside, phone. This woman couldn't walk 3 feet without it, like it was an oxygen tank and she only had minutes left. And the screen was always tilted away from me. At night, she'd tuck the phone under her pillow like a 9-year-old hiding a diary from her parents. Once, she got a notification while we were watching a movie. The screen lit up. A preview bubble popped. "You coming tonight?" She flipped her phone so fast she nearly smacked herself. I didn't say anything, because here's the truth men rarely admit. We always notice first, we just don't want it to be real. Then came the gym. Lauren had always gone casually, heavy on the leggings, light on the lifting. But suddenly she was serious about fitness, buying new outfits, doing 2-a-days, posting gym mirror selfies like her life depended on it. And that's when she started saying a name too often. Chase. It started innocent. Chase showed me this stretch. Chase said protein is important. Chase said I should try his workout plan. Chase said carbs make your face puffy on camera. Why did this man have an opinion on my wife's face? I'd say something like, "Who's Chase again?" And she'd reply, "OMG Ryan, he's just the trainer. Can you not be insecure?" Insecure? I wasn't insecure. I was observant. And observant husbands get labeled paranoid by wives who are doing things that would make the Pope suspicious. Lauren started going out more, a lot more. Girls' night, brunch night, spa night, networking night. Every night was something, and every time she came home, she smelled different. Not perfume, not sweat, just different. Like the scent of someone who had been somewhere she didn't want to talk about. One night I asked, "Where'd you guys go?" She shot back, "Why are you interrogating me? You're acting weird." Weird? Brother, I hadn't even started being weird. But all right. One Sunday morning, I woke up early and went to the kitchen to make coffee. I grabbed Lauren's water bottle to fill it for her gym day. It was empty, except for something small rattling around inside. I opened it. 2 receipts, folded tight. I flattened them. Both were. From a bar stamped 12:27 a.m., ordered by C, signed, "Love ya, I didn't break. Didn't slam anything. Didn't confront her." I put the receipts back exactly the way I found them, closed the bottle, placed it where she left it, and I made coffee like nothing happened. Because I wasn't ready to explode. Not yet. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is wait. 2 weeks later, she said she was going to a girls' spa night. Fine. I stayed late at my shop working on a prototype for a project. Around 10:30 p.m., I got an alert on my phone. Motion detected. Living room. I opened the home camera feed. Only the hallway was in view. Lights flicked on. Lauren walked in. Not in spa clothes, hair messy, makeup smudged, and then he walked in behind her. "Chase, Mr. Carbs, make your face puffy. Mr. Let me fix your form. Mr. I only wear t-shirts if the gym requires it." My jaw didn't drop. My stomach didn't sink. I didn't react at all. I watched her let him in, watched them laugh, watched them whisper, watched her touch his arm, and then they walked down the hall toward the bedroom. Our bedroom, my house, my bed, my life, my wife, and all I did was press, record, save, backup. Then I exhaled slowly, not out of shock, out of clarity. Everything made sense. The phone, the gym, the late nights, the sudden need for independence, the entitlement, the attitude, the distance. She wasn't drifting. She was choosing. Choosing him, choosing a fantasy life over the real one, flexing online while cheating offline. And here's the part nobody expects. I didn't confront her. I didn't drive home. I didn't blow up. Why? Because men who lose their temper lose leverage. Men who stay calm, they win the war before the battle even starts. So I closed the app, shut down the shop, grabbed a water, sat on the couch, and I made one single decision. This woman thinks she's about to ruin me. She has no idea who she married. Most men explode when they catch their wife cheating. I didn't. I became calm in a way that almost felt unnatural, not numb, focused. It was the same feeling I got when tuning a race engine before a major test. Everything slows down. Every detail becomes sharp. Every decision carries weight. And in that moment, watching Chase follow Lauren into my bedroom, I realized something powerful. She wasn't just betraying me. She was handing me the entire case on a silver platter, so I didn't interrupt the performance. I let the actors finish their scene. Because evidence without confrontation? That's leverage. Evidence after confrontation? That's an argument. I preferred leverage. I got home around 7 a.m. Lauren was in the kitchen making avocado toast like she hadn't been auditioning for Home Wrecker of the Year 10 hours earlier. She smiled at me. "Hey, babe, didn't hear you come in last night." My acting skills deserved an award. I leaned in, kissed her cheek gently, and said, "Long night at the shop, pulled an all-nighter on the new prototype." She laughed. "You work too much." That line hit differently now. Before, it was annoying. Now, it was comedic. I sat on the bar stool, watching her butter her toast like she didn't still have another man's cologne ghosting her shirt. I wasn't angry. I was studying her, like a mechanic diagnosing a faulty system. Every lie she told me was a gift. "Spa night was fun," she said casually. "The girls really needed a break." Girls, plural. Interesting group name for a woman and a gym trainer named Chase. I smiled politely. "Glad you had fun." She didn't suspect a thing. That morning, for the first time in months, I felt powerful. I spent the next 72 hours in what I call silent mode. No fighting, no questioning, no raised voice, just gathering, verifying, organizing, every scrap of evidence, every detail, every timestamp. I became my own personal intel agency. 1. Home security footage saved to flash drive, external hard drive, encrypted cloud folder, all triple backed up. 2. Phone records, a simple call log request from our carrier revealed hundreds of calls from Lauren to a number saved as C3, location data. Her iPhone's shared location logs, which she forgot were still linked to our home network, showed she wasn't at any spa. She was always at a private address, Chase's apartment. 4. Receipts. Her discarded receipts told a story. Bar tabs, too. Drinks, same nights as her girls' outings. Same location she pretended she'd never been 5. Social media metadata. A quick metadata check on her selfies showed GPS tags matching Chase's gym. She didn't just cheat. She documented it. Influencers, man. The following Monday, I sat across from a family law attorney in a small office in downtown Charlotte. A calm, older guy with silver hair and a voice like he'd seen every mistake humanity could make and stopped being surprised years ago. He slid his glasses down his nose, looked at the evidence, and said, "Son, you've basically brought me the legal equivalent of a nuclear warhead." I leaned back, arms folded. "Will it help?" He chuckled. "In North Carolina? Help? This will obliterate her alimony claims. Adultery from the dependent spouse bars her from support. You win the house. You win the assets. You win everything you can prove you paid for." I blinked. "So she cheated? And legally that means she gets nothing?" He smiled. "Nothing but her clothes and her dignity, if she remembers to grab that on the way out." I exhaled through a laugh. That was the first time I felt relief, real, solid, bone-deep relief. The lawyer laid out the plan like a race strategy. Step 1, don't confront her yet. Step 2, continue documenting. Step 3, quietly secure financial statements. Step 4, don't change your routine. She must think you're still oblivious. Step 5, when ready, file immediately with full evidence attached. Step 6, serve her with papers before she can manipulate the narrative. Step 7, preemptively notify her parents' landlord, my LLC, of updated terms. Simple, clean, elegant. A divorce built like a precision machine. For the next few days, I treated Lauren like nothing was wrong. I kissed her forehead in the mornings, made her coffee, listened to her talk about her brand expansion, acted supportive even when every word she said was a lie. And every time she walked past me, phone glued to her palm, giggling at a message she forgot to hide. I didn't flinch. I smiled inwardly because I wasn't staying. I was simply setting up the perfect exit. She was planning a future with a man who couldn't afford a houseplant. I was planning the moment she'd lose, the house, the comfort, the lifestyle, her financial safety net, and her illusion of control. My friends say I was calculated. I wasn't. I was prepared. It happened on a Wednesday. Lauren came home late, almost 1 a.m., wearing the same gym leggings she left in, hair messy, makeup smeared, smelling like cologne I didn't own. She walked past me like I was furniture. No guilt, no hesitation, no second thought. And that was the moment I knew. She wasn't just cheating. She believed I'd still take care of her afterward. She believed she could betray me and stay comfortable. She expected my loyalty after giving me betrayal. That was the moment the switch flipped, and I whispered to myself, "All right then, time to begin." Lauren walked into the kitchen like she hadn't burned our marriage to the foundation only hours before. Hair in a messy bun, oversized hoodie, humming while making a smoothie. Absolutely casual. I sat at the kitchen island with cold coffee and a heartbeat that felt like it was echoing against the walls. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. She didn't look at me once. The blender stopped. One silence swallowed the room. "Lauren," I said. She stiffened. Yeah?" she answered, nervous already. "Sit." She sat slowly, at the edge of the chair like she might run. Good. I placed my phone on the table, didn't slide it, didn't push the evidence, just placed it there. She swallowed hard. "Ryan, what's going on?" "Oh, nothing," I said sarcastically. "Just wondering how the spa night was. Did the girls enjoy the mud masks?" Her face drained of color. Her hands tightened around the smoothie cup. "Ryan, please stop talking like that." "Like what?" I tilted my head. "Like someone who knows the truth?" Her throat bobbed as she tried to swallow the panic rising inside her. I hit play. The footage appeared. Her, walking into our home, with Chase behind her, laughing, touching his arm, leading him down the hall toward the bedroom. She didn't blink. The smoothie cup rattled in her trembling hands. She set it down before she dropped it. "Ryan, I can explain." "No," I snapped. "No more explanations." I stood, the chair beside me scraping the floor loudly. Her whole body flinched. "You know what's insane?" I said, pacing. "My anger didn't hit last night. It hit right now because you didn't even bother to pretend anymore." Her tears started falling. "I made a mistake." "When? Before or after he walked into my damn house?" She cried harder. I slid the folder across the table, not gently. It smacked against her arms. "These are the divorce papers, with all the evidence." She opened them with shaking hands. Then she froze at the alimony section. "No alimony?" she whispered. "Correct," I said flatly. "You don't get rewarded for betrayal." She stood suddenly, knocking the chair into the counter. "I can't lose everything, Ryan, no!" I slammed my palm against the countertop. The sound echoed. "You already lost everything the second you brought him into my home!" She grabbed the edge of the counter, struggling to breathe. "Where will I go?" she asked through tears. I shrugged. "Ask Chase. He seemed comfortable in my bed." She collapsed into the chair, sobbing uncontrollably. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I stared at her, calm, distant, done. "You're not sorry you cheated," I said. "You're sorry you got caught." I grabbed my keys, opened the door, looked back one last time. "You didn't break my heart, Lauren. You broke your future." I closed the door gently. A soft door close always hurts more than a slam. The day after the confrontation felt unreal. The house was too quiet. The kind of quiet that isn't peaceful. The kind that presses on your chest like a weight. Lauren sat curled up on the couch when I walked in from my attorney meeting, knees to her chest, blanket wrapped tight, eyes red and puffy, phone face down next to her like she was scared it might expose another lie. She looked up at me the way someone looks at a doctor holding test results they already fear. "Ryan," she whispered, "please, can we talk?" I didn't answer. I dropped the thick stack of finalized legal documents on the dining table. The thump echoed across the room. Her breath caught. She stood slowly, wobbling a little like her legs weren't fully under her. Her hands fidgeted with her sleeves. She kept wiping her palms on the hoodie. She walked toward the table like she was approaching a coffin. What is this? Reality, I said. My voice wasn't loud. It wasn't angry. It was something worse. She flipped through the papers with trembling fingers. Every page she turned made her breathing more uneven. Her voice cracked repeatedly. Ryan, there has to be another way. We can heal. We can rebuild. We can go to therapy. I'll cut off all contact with him. I'll do anything. I leaned against the counter, arms crossed, watching her like someone watching a storm that's already passed. She kept looking at the pages like they were written in fire. When she hit the financial section, her knees buckled slightly. No, 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 no. You can't do this, she whispered. Correct, I said. I didn't do this. She looked up, eyes desperate, hopeful for half a second. You did. Her face collapsed again. Her desperation boiled into anger. Not righteous anger, not emotional rage, the manipulative, cornered sort. Oh, so you're perfect now? She snapped. You're acting like some victim. You were distant. You buried yourself in work. What was I supposed to do? I slammed the cabinet door shut so hard the plates inside rattled. She jumped so violently she backed into the wall. I wasn't yelling, but my voice cut sharper than any scream. You were supposed to talk to me, not sleep with someone else. She stared down, unable to meet my eyes. Silence thickened the room. She finally whispered, I'm sorry. No, I said coldly. You're sorry because you got caught. There's a difference. She crossed the room and grabbed my arm, gently, like touching a wounded animal. I pulled away instantly. Her voice broke completely. Ryan, I don't have anyone. I don't have family. I don't have savings. I don't have anywhere to go. She pressed her palms against her forehead. I can't survive on my own. I can't. That, I said, is not my problem anymore. She collapsed onto the bar stool like her legs gave out again. You can't throw me into the street. You walked out of my marriage long before I walked out of yours. She sobbed harder, louder, her whole body shaking. It wasn't guilt. It was fear. 2 days later, at exactly 9:17 a.m., a firm knock hit the front door. Lauren looked up from the couch with swollen eyes. I opened the door. The sheriff stepped in, holding a thick envelope. Delivery for Mrs. Mitchell. She froze. Her breath stuttered. Then she stood up slowly like her body weighed double. She took the envelope with both hands. Her fingers trembled so violently she dropped it halfway. It hit the floor with a dull slap. She didn't pick it up. I did. I placed it back in her hands, calm, gentle, like handing someone the truth they spent their whole life avoiding. She ripped it open. When she reached the page that said dependent spouse adultery, alimony denied permanently, something inside her shattered audibly. Her voice cracked into a whisper that sounded like a dying flame. Ryan, please don't do this. I stared at her, not with anger, not with sympathy, with clarity. It's already done. She stepped closer, tears streaming, hands clasped together like prayer. I can be better. I can fix this. I swear, Ryan, I can change. I shook my head slowly. You can't rebuild something you never respected. Her lips trembled. Her body shook. She reached out again, like instinct, and I stepped away again. This time she didn't follow. She finally understood. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. And done hurts more than angry ever will. I walked to the door, picked up my jacket, turned back only for one final line. You ended our marriage the night you let someone else in. I'm just signing the paperwork. I closed the door behind me. Not a slam, just final. 2 days after the sheriff served the papers, Susan and Gary called me repeatedly. Missed call after missed call. Texts flooded in. We need to talk. This isn't right. Please come over. Family doesn't do this to family, funny word, coming from people who treated me like an ATM with legs. After the 9th missed call, I finally replied, I'll be there in an hour. When I pulled into their driveway, the blinds shifted. They were waiting, but not out of worry, out of fear. I walked up to the door. Before I could knock, Susan flung it open. Her smile was brittle, desperate. Ryan, sweetheart, thank God you're here. Sweetheart, the word they only ever used when they wanted something. Inside, Gary was pacing with his arms crossed, face red with restrained anger. They sat me down in the living room I paid for, the furniture I bought, the roof I maintained. Susan started immediately, hands clasped dramatically. "Ryan, we are devastated. You two have been together so long. Marriage goes through ups and downs." I held up a hand. "No scripts," I said calmly. "Talk to me like I'm an adult." Her face twitched. "Okay," she said, switching tactics instantly. "Look, she made a mistake, a terrible mistake. But you don't destroy a marriage over one bad decision." Gary added sharply, "If you leave her, you are the one breaking this family." I laughed softly, not because it was funny, because it was pathetic. I pulled out my tablet, opened the hallway footage, set it on the coffee table. "Here," I said. "Watch how your one mistake walks into my house." Susan gasped. Her hand flew over her mouth. Gary leaned forward like he didn't want to believe what he was seeing. The footage showed everything: her laugh, her touch, the way she led him down the hall like she'd done it before. Susan whispered, "Oh my God!" Gary muttered, This is edited. It has to be." I looked at him dead in the eyes. "You raised a daughter who lies. That doesn't mean everyone else does." He shut up. Susan suddenly grabbed my arm, too tightly. "Ryan, we can't lose this house." There it was. Not "we can't lose the marriage," not "we can't lose our daughter's future," not "we can't lose you." No, "we can't lose this house." I pulled my arm away. "This isn't your house." Her eyes flooded instantly. "You wouldn't really kick us out, right?" I took a slow breath. "The house belongs to my LLC. I covered your mortgage, your repairs, your groceries, your utilities, for years." Gary's voice cracked with outrage. "We thought you did that because we were family." "No," I said calmly. "You assumed I would do it forever." I placed the termination notice on the coffee table. 60 days. Their faces went chalk white. Susan's voice broke. "Ryan, please, we have nowhere to go. We don't have income. We're too old to start over." Her hands trembled so badly she gripped the arm of the couch like she might fall. Gary's voice rose, cracking with anger. "You're punishing us for her mistakes." I stepped forward, not angrily, not shouting, just enough to show they no longer controlled the narrative. "No, you're suffering the consequences of depending on a man you never respected." Susan burst into tears. Real tears, not manipulative ones, because she finally understood this wasn't a performance. This was eviction from a life built on entitlement. Gary stood, fist clenched, jaw tight. "You're heartless." I met his glare without flinching. "No, I'm just done being used." He opened his mouth to argue again, but Susan grabbed his arm weakly. "Stop," she whispered. "He's serious." She turned to me, shaking. "What are we supposed to do now?" I took a slow breath. "Learn to live off yourselves, something you should have done years ago." Susan sobbed harder. Gary stared at the floor, and for the first time since I'd known them, they were silent, truly silent. Not manipulative, not dramatic, not theatrical, just broken. I walked to the door, paused, and said, "You backed her lies. You ignored the truth. Now you're living with the consequences." I left with the same calmness I entered with. Behind me, the house that wasn't theirs felt smaller, quieter, emptier. Their empire wasn't built on love. It was built on my generosity. And that day I stopped paying the bills. The courtroom wasn't dramatic. It was cold. Still, almost too quiet, the kind of quiet that makes your heartbeat feel loud. Lauren sat 2 chairs away from me. Shoulders slumped, eyes, red hands, trembling so badly she kept wiping them on her skirt. Her parents sat behind her stiff, angry, silently praying the law would treat them the way I did, with undeserved kindness. They had no idea. The judge reviewed the evidence without emotion. He didn't sigh. He didn't shake his head. He didn't ask why. He only asked one question. "Mrs. Mitchell, do you deny the allegations of adultery?" Lauren didn't look up. Not at the judge, not at me, not at her parents. Her voice cracked. "No." The judge nodded once. That was the moment her parents realized their daughter's lies couldn't save them. And they were next. Before the judge could continue, Susan stood abruptly. "Your Honor, she was confused. She was hurting. He's making her look like some criminal." The judge raised a hand without even glancing at her. "Ma'am, sit down. You are not a party in this case." Gary shot up. "You can't leave us homeless over a mistake. We've been through enough." The judge's voice turned to steel. "You do not belong in this courtroom. Sit down." They sat. Not because they respected him, but because fear finally caught up. The judge flipped through the last few pages of the evidence, then spoke calmly. "Given the verified documentation of marital misconduct by the dependent spouse, the court rules as follows. No alimony shall be awarded. The marital home will remain solely with Mr. Mitchell. All business and financial assets remain with Mr. Mitchell. Mrs. Mitchell retains only personal belongings. Additionally, Mr. and Mrs. Carter are legally required to vacate the property within 60 days. Lauren's lips parted, but no sound came out. Her parents froze, eyes wide, bodies stiff, disbelief spreading across their faces like frost. The judge tapped his gavel once. Case closed, just like that. Their world ended with 3 soft syllables. I walked outside into the sunlight. The air felt cleaner, sharper. Lauren followed me out, small, breaking, desperate. "Ryan," her voice cracked. "Please, we can fix this. I swear I can change." I turned to her, seeing not the woman I married, but the woman who thought loyalty was optional. "You didn't change when you had me," I said. "You only want to change now that you lost me." She wiped her tears violently with her sleeve. "I miss you," she whispered. "I believe you," I said. "But missing me didn't stop you from replacing me." She reached out. I stepped back. "I'm not your home anymore, Lauren." She didn't follow, because some part of her finally understood. Her actions had consequences, and those consequences had arrived. 2 weeks later, I drove past the house. Their belongings were on the lawn. Boxes, bags, furniture, shame. Susan was crying into her hands. Gary was arguing with the movers like yelling would magically lower the price. When Gary saw me, he glared. "You ruined us!" I got out of the car slowly, calmly. "I didn't ruin you," I said. "You built your life on someone else's wallet. You just never expected the bill." He opened his mouth to argue, but Susan grabbed his arm, begging him to stop. They weren't angry at me anymore. They were terrified of a future where I wasn't their safety net. I left them standing in the life they created, one made of entitlement, denial, and borrowed comfort. A house of cards finally knocked over. A month later, I saw Lauren at a grocery store. No makeup, hair unstyled, clothes wrinkled. She looked human for once. Not curated, not filtered, not performing. She forced a small smile. "Hi." "Hi," she swallowed. "I'm working again. Retail, it's something." I nodded. "It's a start." She blinked. "You mean that?" "I do," I said gently. "But not for us, for you." Her eyes watered. "You were the best thing that ever happened to me." "I know," I said softly. "That was the problem. You didn't. And for the first time ever, she didn't chase me, didn't reach for me, didn't beg. She just watched me walk away. Months passed. The house felt like mine again. Quiet, steady, warm, no lies, no secrets, no performance, no other man's cologne in my hallway. Just life. Simple. Honest. Mine. One evening, I sat on the porch with a glass of whiskey, watching the sunset, and a line from a 2025 film floated into my mind, one I never understood until now. Healing doesn't come when they say sorry. Healing comes when you finally stop bleeding. I finally stopped bleeding. She lost everything she took for granted. I found everything I forgot I deserved. In the end, she lost a man who would have given her the world. I lost someone who never deserved the world I built.